The last tricky part of the standard on 882 says that you need to describe the purpose, challenges, and economic incentives associated with westward expansion. So what that means is when everyone's all bunched up on the East Coast, right? So everyone's over here. And you see, wow, look, we just got all this Louisiana territory. We have all this space that's open in what used to be New Mexico, what used to be Texas, what used to be Arizona. Now we're going to get California. We have all this space. Let's spread out. It's kind of like when you have a chair is compared to when you have a recliner and you can kind of stretch out and you're like, oh, it's so much better. So if you can kind of use that as an analogy, the purpose of westward expansion was just to have your own space. There's available space, we might as well claim it. It's kind of like when I was a kid, I used to have to share a room with my brother, and my dad built us a house when I was in 5th grade, and when it was finished, I was in 6th grade, and it was the first time that I really had my own room. So that's another kind of analogy for westward expansion. When the space is available, why wouldn't you take it? Okay, that's kind of the idea. That's the purpose of expansion. Some of the challenges were, like with the Lewis and Clark expedition, we didn't know what was there. We didn't know the language of the Native American tribes that were there. We didn't know the customs. We didn't know the terrain. That means we didn't have a route to cross the mountains because there were no railroads, there were no roads, there were no airplanes weren't even invented. So if we had to get places, it was either by waterway or by horse or by foot. And if you had never been there before, like how would you know what road to take? That's when the Oregon Trail was established, and that was with horses and wagons. And that was a challenge because if you've ever traveled by wagon, not very comfortable. You can't take that much stuff. And you were always subject to high winds or prairie fires, or you could have had a lot of flash flooding. I mean, who knows? All kind of weather scenarios, all kinds of attacks by animals that were unknown to you, or in Native American tribes that weren't sure what you were doing there and didn't want you to settle in their area. Those were some of the challenges. Also, think about leaving your family behind and leaving everything that you know to settle into a new place where you don't have any friends, you don't have any family. You may or may not get to see your family very often after that. You may or may not be able to communicate with them via letter. It's hard to settle into a new spot. That would be another challenge. But the economic incentive was great. In fact, California was started, 49ers were in the Super Bowl. Why were they named that? Well, because in 1849, gold was discovered here. They said gold is in them there hills. So there was a lot of advertisements saying, go west, young man, make your fortune in the hills of California. Silver was found in Nevada in the Comstock lode. So people had an incentive to try to go because they could make their riches. The hardworking Americans wanted to go, get their own land, have their own place they could set up for their children, and have a chance at high fortunes with gold and silver mining. Those were the incentives, right? So I think that wraps up 882. Work. Yeah. And practice is still going, so now I got to pay attention. Out.